Which of these logos do you like more? This one? Or this one? Do you like these ones? Or these ones? If your life is full of joyous whimsy, then you probably like the ones on the left more. They're fun, bright, and colorful. They are full of life. They even reflect the vibe of the game or show what it's about. Then why is it that companies seem to favor the designs on the right? The sleek, simple, monochrome designs with little to no fun going on. I'm not just talking about logos here. This trend of favoring blandness and sucking the life out of things seeps into some of the actual games, turning a once unique franchise into a safer and more plain version of itself. Life is Strange is a great example, because the first game had a super unique style. That's because every texture in the game was hand painted and then scanned in. This was something I found really cool at the time. And it is cool. To this day, it's still a really unique art style that makes the game stand out. Putting the realistic lighting over the soft hand-drawn textures, it really added to the game's nostalgic indie vibe, drawing you in with the ambience and the whole golden hour aesthetic that the game had going on. The UI in the game is scratchy and imperfect. It moves around a bit, like everything has been scribbled into Max's journal. When you don't quite have the budget for photorealism, having a cool art style or good art direction will set you apart from the rest. Although the budget wasn't the only reason for the art style. One of the directors said, "When you're looking at an overly realistic picture, there is no room for imagination at all." But when we take a look at the upcoming game, Double Exposure, we can see that really cool hand-painted style has been thrown out the window. Now all of the characters look so smooth and shiny. When you look at the trees, you no longer see the brush strokes, and that's depressing. The uniqueness is gone, and now the game just looks more plain. It appears that standing out is bad, and Square Enix would rather have the game look more like every other game. The UI, once funky, is now flat and standardized. They kinda tried to keep the pencil style going, but these definitely elicit different vibes. At one point, Resident Evil had the same problem. The series started off as a tense, atmospheric survival horror game. The fixed camera angles, limited resources, and claustrophobic environments created a never-ending feeling of vulnerability. You do shoot zombies in the games, but the emphasis was definitely on the tension and spookiness of exploring these areas while managing your inventory and solving puzzles to progress. However, by the time Resident Evil 5 and 6 came around, the games had shifted far from that original formula. These two games were run-of-the-mill third-person shooters, just a generic action game where you shoot zombies and save the world. I honestly don't even know what to write in the script about these games because I barely remember anything about them. Just very generic shooters which were aimed to appeal to the masses instead of the people who liked the earlier games. Completely different from the tense survival horror in the earlier titles. But the thing is, the game's director Shinji Mikami actually didn't want the games to have this much action in them. He said the 2002 remake of Resident Evil 1 didn't sell very well, so he incorporated more action into the games, starting with Resident Evil 4, in hopes of appealing to a broader audience. If it were up to him, the games still would have been more scary and survival horror focused. But because of poor sales, he had to take the safer route, the more generic route, which led to the dark ages of Resident Evil 5 and 6. Games that tried too hard to appeal to everybody, that they ended up appealing to nobody. Sometimes a game has a really bland UI, as if it has no life. Check out Far Cry New Dawn. The quest marker on screen looks bad, to be honest. The health, ammo, and other info in the bottom right is, I don't know, boring. The title cards in between chapters are literally written in plain white Calibri font. But the worst thing about it is that all of these aspects are so lifeless. It's as if they don't want to make any choices that are too crazy or could somehow scare away players. Me when I'm scared of good UI. Street Fighter 4's UI looked like this, then Street Fighter 5's looked like this. Demon Souls looked like this, and then the Demon Souls remake looked like this. A lot of games seem to go for the sleekest, most out-of-the-way UI they can, the most harmless thing they can imagine. But these aren't fun. A game can be fun through the gameplay, but it can also look fun through the HUD and the menus. You can show information without being boring. There are some other games with really cool UIs that are so unique, oozing with style, dripping with swag. that are so gamey. Like in Eternal Sonata, the combat UI is really fun and matches the vibe of the game well. The story is all about Frédéric Chopin and his music, so all of the backgrounds are musical staves. There are notes on the health bars, they even have a treble clef on the attack timer. Bayonetta's a very funky looking game. There's not even that much on the screen here, but it looks great. The health and magic bars look stylish as hell, with a sharp and dangerous looking background which matches Bayonetta's character. The use of purple and orange make it stand out, and the font that they chose looks awesome. In Hi-Fi Rush, all of the UI elements will move and bounce to the beat of the background music. The UI is used to elevate the experience and make the game world feel more alive. These games are all just a joy to look at. They do something slightly unique, and it ends up being 1,000 times better than a sleek white or grey HUD. Games shouldn't be afraid to look gamey and have their own style. This issue of super generic games is most noticeable in the AAA industry, where if these massive budget games don't make their money back, then the entire studio will just be shut down, haha! When you've got the jobs of 150 people on the line, you don't want to take any big risks while making a game. So what ends up being made is something that doesn't really push any boundaries, doesn't really do anything new, and doesn't make any choices that could potentially push away players. For quite a while now, this gold standard of AAA games has been an open world with some action, campsites to clear out, towers to unlock new areas of the map, fetch quests, and 500 collectibles placed around the map. Which, I won't lie, can be pretty fun the first few times you play it. I love Far Cry 3 and it's exactly what I just described. These types of games are fun for a little bit until the entire market gets oversaturated with them, because every company is releasing practically the same game. Nothing says bland like an open world with nothing to do. To try and please everyone, these games do a little bit of everything, but don't do any one thing that well. Large game studios need to make safe choices, and make something that's already been proven to work. It's the reason that Bethesda went over 25 years without creating a new IP. They already had a couple that they knew would make them big money. Maybe at some point the default game template will change, but for now the boring open world is the perfect anyone can play this game. Everybody has already talked about brand logos becoming simpler ad nauseum. Corporate minimalism they call it. But it's just another example of this genericism, the blandification. Funny Pringles Man is now just an oval. Patreon is now just a blob. Firefox isn't even a fox anymore. Thunderbolts isn't even a movie I'm super excited to see or anything, but can anybody explain this logo change? Is the new one better? Like, at all? And going back to Life is Strange, the original logos were all unique, and each had their own style related to the main character of the game. But then the newer ones all look like this. Womp womp. Instead of giving each game a distinct identity which can be shown by the logo, they've opted for a uniform look that blends the entire series together, stripping away the individuality of each title and lumping them all in the same pile. MrBeast has been trying to become the most generic version of himself that he can. He has said this a lot. He famously said that he removes his personality from videos because it stops them from performing as well. He sees personality as a limitation for growth, saying that if you don't like the creator's personality, you won't watch their videos. So he tries to become as generic and lifeless as he possibly can to appeal to the broadest audience. Sound familiar? It's kinda what I've been talking about this whole video. He does the same thing with his thumbnail face. The freaky, over-edited things on his thumbnail don't even represent him anymore. That's not to show you MrBeast. That's to show you that this is a MrBeast video. And he wants to make that as clear as possible by turning himself into something recognizable by all. Something without any personality and without any human imperfections. I can't even walk into the supermarket without seeing his thumbnail face. And even I am incentivized by YouTube systems to become more generic. If I make a video about a niche topic, even if it's something I find really interesting, it probably won't perform as well as a video with a big broader topic about all of gaming. Bonus points if the title has a negative connotation, with a thumbnail that puts down someone or something. I know that being more generic and making videos about a larger topic would fetch me more views, which does discourage me from making videos about more specific or less popular things. So why does everybody turn their creations into a blander version of what they used to be? Why are we so risk averse? Well, I think we all know the reason. It's money, duh, and also safety, aka doing what they know will make the money. From a lot of studios nowadays, we sadly just can't expect anything new or fresh, because of course they don't want to take the risk of their game flopping. They have to make the safe choice, whether that be a sequel to a popular franchise instead of developing a new IP, or copying a formula that's been proven to work, even if the result is middling. When trying to make money, these studios need the largest possible audience, so they create the most milquetoast thing they can. The logo choices aren't driven by which one looks the coolest or best conveys the theme of the game. Some marketing person probably just found that the simple, lifeless logo tested better overall with audiences, and that's all there is to it. What's really lame is that the CEOs who take $150 million paychecks don't see games as a fun way to spend some time, or as a form of creative expression, or as art. Their endless quest for more money causes them to see games as a product, something to be bought and consumed, which of course is terrible for creativity. This mindset basically eliminates creativity and makes choices that could be interesting or unique forbidden. There's a high level of risk at these large studios. They seem to always be one flop away from bankruptcy. They have a lot to lose, which is why indie games are usually more unique and are able to take a big artistic risk. A lot of solo devs or very small teams don't have much to lose and are sometimes doing it for the love of the craft, making a cool game for the sake of making a cool game. But let me tell you a little secret about these dull games. Believe it or not, they usually aren't the best. They may perform very well in terms of sales and money, but the audience reception usually isn't that good. The studio makes something safe, something that everybody can play, and they get $1 billion for it. But the game itself is mid, because that's what they're trying to make. The most middle of the road, please everyone type of game. I don't think these games are the worst thing in the world, but they're not even close to being the best either. It's a 3-star game which rakes in the money, but doesn't really excel in any particular area, versus a game which takes a little bit more risk, possibly pushing away a whole potential audience, but is overwhelmed with 5-star reviews. It's a game catered to a more specific audience, so not everyone will like it, but by being specific, you can make something that that audience will really like. If you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one, so it's best to focus on some people. So, is gaming ruined? Is it not fun anymore? No, idiot. This plague of genericism is just a general trend that I've noticed affecting some games, mainly from the biggest budget AAA studios. But that doesn't mean I've forced myself to play them all. It's not all doom and gloom. I've been playing so many cool, stylish games. There are a bunch of games out there that aren't bland and do take risks. You just have to look for them. What I've been getting at throughout the entire video is playing it safe is lame. At the end of the day, my favorite games aren't going to be the latest open world Ubisoft title, or Call of Duty 21. My favorite games are going to be the ones that take some risk, the games that are unique, the games that make an impact, not the ones that blend in with everything else. If you made it this far, make sure to subscribe, like the video, leave a comment, you know what to do. All of that really helps. And check out the Patreon if you want to watch some bonus content like these videos on screen. Thank you to my patrons for supporting the channel, Liam Blackford, Rian, and Crafting the Music. Thanks for watching.